VOD is video on demand. This is where the user selects from a repertoire of program material the exact program that they want and exactly when they want it to begin. Real video on demand is that the user can select exactly what program they want and do the deal, pay for it over the remote control, over the screen-based interface, and the program will commence immediately. There are some systems which are called NVOD, which means that you have to wait for the next available time slot, typically 5 or 10 minutes before the stream will start. This simplifies the transmission for the network provider, so they don't need the sophisticated equipment in the head end. So it just means that you have to wait for the next time slot to come around before you can commence watching the program. It's certainly seen that that VOD is increasing dramatically. The worldwide usage of video on demand is increasing and will continue to increase over the next 3 or 4 years. Currently, the VOD models are based on satellite and cable television distribution, but increasingly we're going to see a lot more VOD on IPTV, telco IPTV distribution mechanisms. The devices to be used for VOD, certainly a set-top box which provides the degree of interactivity. Of course, it is responding to the user's remote control and is sending through IPTV middleware back to the network the requests for the selected programs. So a specific type of set-top box is required. The sort of set-top boxes we're looking at are the Sky Plus or the TeleWest video drive. All the trick play services that the user would associate with a DVD or a video recorder are present. That is play, fast forward, fast rewind, pause, and so on, and various degrees of searches as well. And indeed, through the VOD platform, we're also seeing real-time TV being broadcast the same way. So again, you can rewind, pause, real-time broadcast TV. So for trick play, you would see on the remote control the same symbols representing forward, pause, fast forward, and rewind. And again, this would send remote control signals to the set-top box, which again would send the signals back to the head-end equipment in the network. There are a number of transmission formats that can support VOD. Cable and satellite and telco IPTV, but they all use the same type of head end. The head end is where the content is stored, basically on servers, which are great big machines, which are the content is literally stored on hard drives. We've been talking about trick play and the ability to start VOD at staggered times or at the precise second that the user wants it. This, of course, was a problem with previous systems to get a hard drive to provide the simultaneous streams of the same program to a number of users. What we're seeing now is what's called RAM caches, which is basically taking the program away from the hard drive, storing it in a solid-state RAM, and it is this technology which allows users to go straight to the RAM to access the material, to perform the trick plays and to perform the commencement of the program. PVR is the personal video recorder capability. Of course, this has been around for the last few years now for set-top boxes. It's basically a hard drive in a set-top box, a hard drive in the scale of 60 gigabyte, 80 gigabyte, that sort of thing, capable of handling and storing probably a week's worth of average family's TV viewing habits. There is now the capability called NPVR, which is network-based PVR. This is where, rather than you storing the content locally, then you have your content stored for you within the network. Of course, that doesn't mean that you have your own personal cache within the network where you have all of your own recordings. It basically means that all of the content that is available has an index mark against your name, your account, and that you are contracted to be able to view this content for the next N days or for N replays. There have been one or two issues with NPVR over the last year or so since its inception. This is because basically NPVR can be seen as rebroadcasting of copyright material, which of course has had one or two issues about it. These issues are now being cleared up, and we can expect to see NPVR as a commonly available service. So for PVR, for where the hard drive is local within the set-top box, then it is content which is there for you to view at your will. It's dependent upon the digital rights management of that content, whether it times out or not, and whether it is cleared from your storage over a certain period of time, or whether the headers in the file are checked against the true date to see if it has timed out. There may be those restrictions and constraints upon that content, but basically it's there for you to access through the user interface on screen, and to be able to view and perform all the usual trick plays on it at your own will. There's an increasingly sophisticated range of personal programming capabilities now. When a user selects to record a program, they can record just the program, or they can select the whole series, and for PVR that is transmitted to the end user as the series is broadcast over the period of weeks. There's a whole range of sophisticated mechanisms now to supply this. There is one open sourced piece of software which allows you just to enter some keywords, actors or performers in there, and that will allow you to not miss anything of your own interest based on purely a word search in there. So you can be surprised at some of the things that we record, and only when you start to play them back will it become obvious why it has chosen to record it for you. So for example, Iptv is an open source application which provides both a back end and a front end, the front end being user interface, the back end being the bit that records off-air programs. And so you can enter searches into there, and the searches will check themselves against the metadata which is broadcast for each program. And when the metadata matches the search function, then it will take this program off air and record it. And it will let you know that it's recorded it, and it will be there for you to view at your leisure. On a set-top box, you can record one channel and watch other channels at the same time. For digital, this is quite for digital transmission. This is quite straightforward. You are receiving a series of bits, and the program will specify which ones are to be transmitted now, which ones are to be recorded. With the BT Vision service, they are providing set-top boxes which have two Freeview receivers within them, so that you can receive video on demand off the broadband access, and also at the same time receive two Freeview channels. And so that's how that allows you to watch two simultaneous programs that way. In the digital domain, it's a lot easier because you have a multiplex of channels coming in, and the software will select which channels are to be recorded and which channels are to be viewed now. IPTV is a major development, a major thing happening within the telecoms and the TV industry at the moment. IPTV is Internet Protocol TV. It is covering the internet to a certain extent, but by and large it is covering the much better engineered, the much better dimensioned and the high quality of service provisioning that a telecoms network provides. It is allowing the user to access video on demand and real-time broadcast TV over the IPTV service on the network, and the content is transmitted on an IP platform. The difference between watching IPTV either online or on a set-top box, theoretically there's no difference, but because the internet is much more prone to glitches and to lower bandwidths, if you like, than a telco network, then the programs which are transmitted over the telco network are going to be much higher quality and do afford the much bigger bandwidths for the standard definition TV quality that we normally associate with TV broadcasts. File formats for TV distribution digitally, there are three basic ones. MPEG-2 has been used to date. MPEG-4 is now coming along and superseding MPEG-2, and there is also Windows Media 9, which early this year, 2006, became an open standard and is now called VC1. That's the Microsoft Windows Media standard. So Microsoft, of course, are making a big name for themselves in IPTV, and in most of their deployments they'll be using, where possible, their own format for obvious reasons, although of course all formats or all implementations and all installations of IPTV should be capable of supporting all of these formats anyway. MPEG-4 is standardizing a much greater compression than was possible when MPEG-2 was standardized early last decade, and is enabling program material to be distributed at half or even a quarter of the bandwidth that we associate with MPEG-2 at the moment. So that is the advanced video coding format within MPEG-4. There is also, of course, the advanced audio coding format. Although MPEG-4 is offering an awful lot more in terms of capability, and that is the integration of media objects, interactive objects, so that users can become much more interactive with the media and indeed objects within the media. So for example, a user can, having downloaded an MPEG-4 presentation, there may be certain objects that they can move around the scene. It may be that within the scene, the telephone on a desk is one object, and that the user may be able to actually use that phone to make real live telephone calls. So any object which is specified by the program maker can be used interactively by the end user. MPEG-4 also allows the hyperlinking of objects within the program content, so that, for example, you could click on an object and that would link off to any prescribed URL on the net. There are a number of developments which are looking at increasing the interactivity. It's a bit of a moot point within the industry, just exactly how much interactivity is required. Do people just want to sit back and observe a serial stream of audio and video content, or do they actually want to interact with it? I'm optimistic in thinking that yes, there's a lot of grounds there for interacting. And of course there'll be advertising is one of the services which we're utilising this interactivity to a greater degree, so that you interact with adverts, and that probably actually does mean a positive benefit for the recipient of the advert. They get adverts they're more interested in. Personalised advertising based on the profile of viewers is something which is now coming in. There are a number of companies which are now offering this. Packet Vision and Tamberg are two companies who have now got products out on the market which are looking at taking a user's profile and providing that user with advertised content pertinent to that user. Packet Vision estimate indeed that advertising revenues are going to be 20 times greater using this personalised advertising than with the typical spreadshot advertising. But there are a lot more interactive services that we can foresee within there. User collaboration, conferencing capabilities, which are going along with the content, so the content and the applications are being bound into a greater media presentation for the end user. And these media presentations may be put together by intermediaries within the network for a personalised content platform. Certainly I see that computers and televisions are now, even as we speak, they're merging ever closer. Televisions are getting computing platforms within them, certainly by virtue of being associated with a set-top box. So the TV is a monitor to the set-top box's computer. And of course we're seeing PCs which are capable of displaying the TV content. And so yes, we are seeing a merging of the two. I suppose there'll also always be the case for the purpose-driven platform in the corner of the lounge, which is known as the TV, but it basically will be a computer. And of course there'll also be the computer which we work in the office or work in the home study, or the computer that we take around with us, but that will be capable of acting more like a TV as well. So I see users being capable of using a browsable, interactive linking, just like the web, within a TV environment. Certainly, you can see that within the next very few years that the two platforms will be merged and will be almost indistinguishable from each other.